that I am with you, and I'm sorry that there's just this sort of black screen there in the corner, but I am here and I'm with you. So today's webinar is about confidence and building confidence in ourselves and in others, and it's really an important skill to have, an important thing to be developing for ourselves. Now I can't remember how to click to the next slide. Hang on a minute. I go here. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, got it. So a little bit about me, in case you don't know me already. I'm Emma Sue. I do a number of different things professionally. I work a lot with teachers and trainers. I run a website that supports people who are delivering soft skills, personal development, life skills. And I'm also an author, and I've written a book about the key soft skills that you need, which are around the skills that are inside ourselves and life skills. So confidence is actually a key part of some of these skills. And I've said in the introduction that confidence is like a golden key. Think of it like a key that really can unlock your ability to feel good about yourself. And if you feel good about yourself, you're going to be performing well, you're going to build positive relationships with other people, and you're just going to be much more effective. And without confidence, you're likely to be less effective. So it's an important thing to have in yourself, and it's an important thing to have as a teacher, because a confident teacher will promote confident and effective learning. But in order for that to happen, we have to develop confidence in ourselves before that ripple effect can happen to people that we work with and people that we teach. And confidence comes, in a nutshell, it comes from developing our confidence muscle. So if you think of it like a muscle that you've got to train, that's how you develop confidence. And it happens through very clear actions, going out of your comfort zone, and safe risk-taking. And I'm going to talk a lot more about the kinds of things that you can be doing to build your confidence. So in this webinar, what I want to do is explore where confidence comes from. I've got this slide here up about self-awareness, because everything has to begin with self-awareness and understanding why you perhaps don't feel as confident as you could, or how you can know where and how to strengthen that confidence muscle. So self-awareness is really, really important. And with the webinar, what I want to focus on is getting a better understanding of where confidence comes from, and how you can strengthen it through stronger self-awareness, and also some practical ways that you can do that, and different things that you could actually try out maybe today or tomorrow. Getting a better understanding of why we actually need to be a lot more comfortable with taking more risks, and things that you can do that help you to project confidence. In other words, give the perception that you're confident, but also help you to feel more confident. So there are actual little actions and techniques that you can take that will help you to feel more confident. And then how we can maybe do some of these things in the classroom as well. So some of the things I'll be talking about will be things that you can actually transfer to the classroom quite easily. And some of the things at the end of the webinar will be some ways that you can use some exercises in the classroom to help students to build their confidence. So I think, first of all, it's useful to understand and talk about what confidence is and what it isn't. So confidence is the belief in oneself and in one's own abilities. So it's like an internal state of mind, and it comes from what we think and what we feel about ourselves. And that state can change, so it's changeable depending on the situation that you're currently in, and depending on your responses to what's going on around us. So confidence is not a static thing, it can actually change, and there'll be some situations where you might feel more confident than in other situations. It's not unusual to feel quite confident in some circumstances and less confident in others. And confidence is also influenced by past events and how we remember them. So if you can recall something successful that had a positive outcome, you're going to feel differently about that. You're going to feel more positive about it when that similar situation comes up again. And you'll also be able to link confidence to self-esteem and how we feel about ourselves. Sometimes these terms are used interchangeably. And although there is some overlap, there are subtle differences between confidence and self-esteem. So confidence perhaps refers to how we feel about ourselves and our own abilities, and self-esteem is more to do with how we appreciate and how we value ourselves. So there needs to be a certain amount of self-approval, if you like, to have the confidence to meet life's challenges, and to be involved in things that make life enjoyable and make life rewarding. So healthy self-esteem, you could say that leads to being confident, but healthy self-awareness is also really, really crucial. So I'm going to ask you a question now, so you can write something in the chat box. And I'm really sorry you guys can't see me. I know some of you are typing that there's no video, and you're right, there isn't. My camera's not working. Really, really sorry. But I'm here, very much here with you. And I feel like I'm here with you. So actually, I feel like I'm talking right to you, and we're together. So think about a time when you felt confident, and see if you can describe what contributed to that moment of feeling confident. Yeah, having a good hair day does contribute to confidence. I completely agree with that. Knowledge, competency, yes. Other people's attitudes, okay, support. Yeah, doing something I know how to do, practice, done it before. Really interesting. Believing in yourself, things out surprisingly well, practice. Okay, lots of things there, lots of things. Okay, I'm going to try and touch on some of the things that you've been saying in the chat box there, but I can see already links with this. So confidence, this is where confidence comes from. Okay, so we've already said that it comes from how we feel about ourselves, our abilities, what we think about ourselves, what we tell ourselves, how we value ourselves. But it also comes from other things. So a couple of you have talked about being influenced by a parent or a key person in your life. So early life experiences can shape some of these things. It can also come from something that you've achieved. So some of you have talked about when you felt well prepared, when you felt that you'd actually really got the result that you wanted, that helped you to feel more confident. It also comes from making mistakes. And it also comes from something seemingly negative, like rejection, which I'll talk about a bit more later. We all have to learn to be a lot more comfortable with being rejected and how we cope with that. And it comes from knowing yourself. So it comes from something quite deep inside ourselves. That is where confidence comes from. So if we think that confidence, so if we see that developing confidence can come from achievements, then one thing that's very important to look at is, first of all, sorry, just as an aside to I was about to go into the comfort zone, but just as an aside to that, I just want to touch on emotional intelligence, because I talked at the very beginning about self-awareness and about that the cornerstone of everything is the self-awareness, and that comes from emotional intelligence, which you can find out more about and read more about. I'm not going to go into EQ just here, but this is just in a nutshell what emotional intelligence is, and it's about managing yourself, understanding yourself, and in turn how you then relate to others. And what's important about this is that the way that you develop and improve your EQ is exactly by learning and practicing new skills and going out there and doing different things. So that is very, very strongly connected with our comfort zone. And the comfort zone is where we feel most comfortable doing what we do, okay? But in order to actually become more confident, it's important to go out of that comfort zone. So most of the time, the tendency will be to resist anything that requires us to go out of that comfort zone. That's the previous slide, okay, on EQ, but you will get the slides afterwards, all right? So no worries, you will get these and you'll be able to refer back to them. But our comfort zones are basically they're as small or as big as we make them, okay? So we decide how big that comfort zone is, and we make them bigger. So we make that comfort zone bigger. If you think about the circle there through that image, you make it bigger by engaging in more activities, more tasks, more thoughts, and more experiences that lie outside that comfort zone, okay? It doesn't have to be massively outside it, but just needs to be slightly outside that comfort zone. And the bigger that comfort zone, the more adaptable it will be. Somebody's written here hard with teens, and I'm just going to disagree with you there, because actually adolescents are at a point where their brains can really change and be rewired. And yes, they don't like going out of their comfort zone, but if you can get them to get out of their comfort zone as young people, as adolescents, as teenagers, they will have that skill, that ability will be much strongly wired in them for much, much longer, because their brains are changing. So it's something to think about there. So as trainers and educators, we must be able to get our learners to expand their comfort zones and get them wider, okay? Now, how do you do it? Okay, so here's some tips on how you can expand your comfort zone. This is both for you and for perhaps the people that you work with, okay? So the first thing I've got up there is don't wait to be chosen. Therefore, what that means is going for new things and volunteering and being the first to say yes, even if you'd rather say no. And one of the things I teach in some of my workshops is saying yes. It's saying yes to something and going forward and moving towards something instead of moving away from something. So your comfort zone will build if you can go forward and not wait until something happens or wait until you're chosen for something. Another thing you can do is take an improv class. Now, improvisation is a technique that can be learnt, that can be used. It comes from theatre, and it's theatre that's performed without any kind of rehearsed or scripted lines. So the players just leap on the stage and they make everything up on the spot. But actually, they have been trained in certain types of skills that enable them to do that. And these skills are the things that can make you successful when you're facing challenges or facing something that's unfamiliar, unexpected. So why not take an improv class or consider using improv techniques with your students? And if you're not sure how that would be or what that could look like, just get in touch with me and I'll give you some ideas of how you can use improv in the classroom. There are certain techniques and things that are quite easy really for trainers to take on board. Okay, the third one I've got up there is don't assume that others are smarter than you. So it's quite easy sometimes, and it depends on where you are in your career, and it depends on how you feel about yourself, how you think about yourself. It's easy to get intimidated by those around us and think, oh, you know, that person's smarter than me, or, you know, they've got more qualifications, or they've got this, or they've got that. And I know that I certainly used to do this when I was younger. I mean, one of the great advantages about getting older is stop doing this kind of thing, and it's great. But I certainly used to, you know, when I was going into new situations, sometimes think, oh my gosh, these people are so much more experienced than me, and you know, more highly qualified than I am, and therefore they are smarter. And it's a huge assumption. So always keep in mind your ideas are just as good as anyone's, and that your presence in any situation that you're in, your presence is valuable. It's valuable, okay? So recognize that and own that your presence is valuable. And if you can somehow navigate life with that assumption that your presence is valuable, it will make a huge difference. And can I just add that, and I am going to be slightly sexist here, and just add that most men in business know this. Okay, they go through life, they go through their work as if, you know, their presence is very important, very valuable. And women need to internalize that way of going into things as well. Okay. Do you build a board of advisors? So people who are confident and resilient tend to have quite a strong network of people around them who support them. So make sure you have supportive people around you. This could be mentors, these could be colleagues in whom you can provide, people that can offer honest and respectful feedback. Okay, so isolation does not breed confidence. Okay, it's really important to have a network of people around you and to be able to make sense of the patterns that are in your life. And we need other people to actually understand and appreciate us and even challenge us. We need that. So if your support network isn't supportive, go and change it. Now, another thing that's quite interesting, don't fake it till you make it. And it may sound counterproductive, but when it comes to confidence, don't fall for this. Don't think, oh well, I'll just pretend that I'm confident, it'll be okay. It can be, that attitude can be useful sometimes, but in the long run, it's not beneficial. You need to cultivate very authentic confidence. So it's important that you are practicing. So somebody talked about practice earlier on. Practice does make perfect. Your brain learns from practicing new behaviors. So again, the more you can go out of your comfort zone and do different things and do new things, your brain will learn and will understand, hey, that's what I do. I go out and I do new things. Now, I don't know whether you've heard of the expression pay it forward. So this is referring to helping other people. I will slow down. I've got some comments there about being very fast presenting. It's probably because I'm so eager to tell you all these different things. So there's a tendency to talk a little bit faster, and I will try and slow down a bit, okay? So pay it forward, which you may have heard about, is about helping other people. So helping other people can boost your confidence because it gives you a sense of being valued and of having something to offer. So if you can give what I call one of the 3 W's back to the world, that's either wisdom, which could be around your knowledge, your expertise, your experience, wealth, or work. And many of you as teachers are doing exactly that with your work. Your work is really, really, really valuable. So give of your knowledge, give of hands-on effort. These things make a difference in making things better. Then I've got don't work in an unsupportive environment. Now, it's important to work in a place that really supports you. And it's important that you've got an option to develop and that your professional development is supported. And sometimes we don't have a choice about that. We feel we don't have a choice about that. And if that's the case, then look for ways that you can change that. I've done a lot of work on professional development with teachers in India. And in India, the status of teachers is very, very, very low. So they're not valued, really. And we've done a lot of work out there on professional development for teachers. And what we've tried to do, and what's been very interesting, is helping teachers in India look at their values. Oops, sorry about that. And their purpose. And we've been able to create clusters of teachers in schools where they can support each other and mentor each other and be there for each other. So when I talk about the status of teachers being low in India, I'm talking about the perception of teachers. I'm not saying that it is that way, not for a minute, but it's the perception, and that's often what teachers have to grapple with there. And it's quite hard when you've got that around you to feel motivated and to feel confident. Do embrace an optimistic future. So thinking about the possibilities of your future job or career can give you a greater sense of power and direction. So these things, reflecting on your past, your present and your future is important because these affect your sense of self and therefore your confidence. And then rejection. So I mentioned before that we need to learn to embrace rejection. And it is important, and it's important to get comfortable with it and realize that it's not a reflection of you or you as a person. Often there's a whole bunch of different things at play when it comes to rejection or why you're not chosen for a particular thing. So it's important to be able to embrace that. And yes, you're going to feel, you're going to have some feelings about being rejected, but what's important is not to stay down there and to see it as being personal and about you, because so often it just isn't. Another thing that can help in terms of do's and don'ts, do think about creating a top 10 list of your values, because it helps to outline what's important to you and gives a better understanding of what really matters to you, whether that's family, work, starting a book, joining an exercise group, whatever it might be. It gives a greater sense of self and of motivation. And also it helps with self-awareness and knowing yourself. And the last one I've got there is being aware of the fact that negative energy is twice as powerful as positive energy. So it's important to recognize any people or situations in your life that may be negative. And it's important because it will have an impact on, it does have an impact on your sense of self and on your environment. So it's important to think about that, and to, you know, just even if you avoid things like gossip, you know, and people talking negatively, because it's just sapping your energy, and it isn't good for you. So there's some do's and don'ts in terms of how to expand and build your comfort zone. And one thing that's also important to do is get more comfortable with taking risks and saying yes more, okay? And the reason for that is that, again, it will expand your comfort zone, but also because if you're out there doing your own thing, or out there trying to move forward in some way, it won't happen unless you are able to take risks. So unless you're able to put yourself forward for something, or make that positive change, or go out on a whim or a leap of faith and not knowing what the outcome might be, it's that kind of risk that I'm talking about. I'm not necessarily talking about jumping off that cliff, okay? So you have some support there around you, but just incorporating a little bit more risk into your life. And the reason the comfort zone is so important, just to touch back on this again, is that we need to be in that yellow part of the comfort zone, okay? Because that's where we learn the most. And if we go too far outside our comfort zone, then we will find ourselves in fear or panic. And when you're in that part, you can't actually move forward. So the best place to be is in that yellow zone, where you are able to learn and where you can expand. And so each time your comfort zone gets larger, because what will happen is, as you do more in that yellow zone, the comfort zone will expand. And then you need to keep making sure that you are not staying in that comfort zone. Oh yeah, interesting comment there. Don't reject rejection and avoiding. No, they're two different things. So what I'm talking about is that you can be around negative people or situations which are not good for you, whereas rejection is something that's inevitable. We are all going to face rejection. I face rejection all the time when I put proposals in for projects for which I'm more than sufficiently qualified and experienced, but I won't get them because of different reasons, different factors at play that are actually not necessarily to do with me personally. So they're two different things, negativity and rejection, okay? So the next thing I want to touch on is how to project confidence. And there are 5 ways that we can look at in terms of projecting confidence. These are things that you can do that will help you come across more confident, but also feel more confident. The first one is playing to your strengths. So actually, the fact that you might do your job extremely well doesn't necessarily mean, or doesn't necessarily translate into you being confident of your abilities. So it's about being aware of your competence. So when you're aware of your competence, that's when you become confident, okay? And earlier on, some people put some things there around competence. And how they felt about their, it wasn't specific, but it was about being competent. So when you're aware of that competence, that's where the confidence comes in. And there can be things like, so one of the things that, I mean, this may or may not be relevant to some of you, but when I'm working with people who are going into job interviews, for example, and being sort of more aware of their strengths and talents, is to, before going into a job interview, just think about a past success that fills you with pride and a high sense of achievement. And it doesn't necessarily have to be from professional life, but recalling that feeling of power and certainty and remembering how you looked and sounded, just that, doing that can help someone before they walk into an interview or walk up to deliver a presentation, for example. The second is watching your posture. And this is a really interesting one because the way you feel will affect your body. So if you're feeling insecure or depressed or anxious, if we feel like that, we tend to round our shoulders and we tend to slump and we tend to look down. Exactly, Amy Cuddy, yes, exactly. Check out Amy Cuddy on TED, and she's got a fantastic video about this, which is about power poses. So the reverse is true. So if you are upbeat and assured, so this is what we tend to do without being consciously focused on it, okay? So when we are feeling anxious or sad or depressed, we will tend to do that slumping shoulders, looking down. If we're feeling really upbeat, we will hold ourselves differently and we will stand up a lot straighter, okay? So the reverse is true. The reverse is true. If your posture has a powerful impact on your emotions and on how others perceive you. So if at the very least you pull yourself up, stand up really straight, and relax, this will have an impact on how you're walking into a room or how you're going into a situation. So Amy Cuddy has done a lot of research in power posing, and what they found, the research found that even just holding your body in a high power pose for 2 minutes stimulates higher levels of testosterone, and this hormone is linked to power and dominance, and lower levels of cortisol, which is a stress hormone, okay? So it's a very, very interesting area to look at, so do watch that video if you can, because they found that the powerful postures led to increased feelings of power and a higher tolerance for risk. And people are often more influenced by how they feel about you than by what you're saying. So if you're going into a situation in which you want to project your most confident self, you start by standing up straight, putting your shoulders back, widening your stance, holding your head high. Okay, so think of, channel your inner Wonder Woman or Superman pose, and you'll get the idea. Okay, and it's very, very, very powerful. So try it. The third one is to choose to be an optimist, and the key word here is choose. Okay, so we can choose this, and we know that. I mean, it's been, there's lots of research out there that says that positive outlook is an important part of high-level achievement and confidence. And certainly today, where things are so fast-moving and competitive, you kind of need to cultivate this positive, upbeat, can-do kind of attitude. And it's a choice that you can make. So it's important to be aware of what you're doing when you're looking at something. You can analyze any situation from a negative viewpoint, and you can equally analyze it from a positive viewpoint. So be aware of that and how you're looking at different things. And what you need to be doing is developing strategies to minimize the negatives and optimize the positives, and focus on the positive side of a situation. So when we spend too much time worrying about certain aspects or worrying about things that perhaps even haven't happened, it actually wastes that mental energy, and that saps your enthusiasm and confidence. So think about it's really useful to think about your brain and think about the energy as something that you have a finite amount of. And if you're using it up in negative situations or using it up in looking at the negatives of something, you don't have much left for the positive side of it, or you don't have much left for the upbeat energy. Number 4 is loosening up. So some people are naturally more flexible and better at coping with change than others. So those people know that, when things are changing all around you, or when there's things that are unexpected, the best thing is just to relax and to go with it. And again, it's linked to the physical, because we tend to naturally tense up when there is change around us, or when there are things around us that worry us. So you can, and again, all the other thing you can do is you can build your confidence by honing down your ability to commit to a particular course of action, but at the same time allowing yourself to change behaviours, change attitudes if something changes in a different direction, which it will. And that can be hard sometimes because our natural tendency will be to resist. And the final one is to embrace failure. So growth comes as much from failure as it does from success. And we need to get, again, more comfortable with failure. So I spoke to a project manager recently, and he kind of summed it up. He said, well, if this particular project fails, it'll still be worth all the time and effort I've put into it for the past 18 months, because just look at everything I've learned. And that is the way to handle failure. And the Army, the US Army, what they've started to do is develop after-action reviews. They're called AARs. And these AARs are now used by organizations all over the world to help teams learn from their mistakes, prevent any future errors, and find new kinds of solutions to problems. So what they do is they get the people who were in a planned project and ask them a series of questions. But you can actually do this yourself around any event that didn't turn out the way that you hoped it would. You can just ask yourself a few questions. What was the desired outcome? What did I want? What was the actual outcome? What actually happened? Why were there differences between what I wanted and what I achieved? What did I learn? And what would I do differently next time? Really, really simple. And if we could learn to just bring that in when we fail, we will develop, we will learn, we will get more confident. So failure can be a huge obstacle to developing, projecting confidence. But when you know that your failures can't stop you, so if they're learning experiences and therefore they're not a big deal, then you become better at it, and you become more okay with this feeling that, well, nothing can stop me. Okay, so I've given you some, I've talked about the comfort zone, how you expand it, different things you can do, different things not to do. And we've talked about projecting confidence 5 ways, how you can do it. How do we help our students? So how do we help students to develop confidence in the classroom? So many of the things that I've already mentioned can be used in the classroom. So things around helping people move in and out of their comfort zone. Self-evaluation, self-critique can be very useful with developing confidence. And what you want to be doing is enabling students to try out new behaviours or learn from existing behaviours. And again, that will also happen by encouraging mistakes. Yes, constructive feedback, really, really important. This helps reduce weaknesses and enhance strengths. And it doesn't mean you don't talk about weaknesses, which I do think is important to also address weaknesses and areas to focus on. So we shouldn't be teaching students that confidence, it doesn't all come from praise. It's about being honest with students and giving honest feedback. And encouraging students to set high standards for themselves. And some of the things that you can be doing here is just encouraging more risk-taking and learning from mistakes, but in a positive environment. And I think language teachers do this all the time, because that is how our students learn language, is by making mistakes. Experiential learning activities are very, very effective for focusing on behaviour. And doing something like that followed by reflection will help students, will help any learners actually, help anyone build different behaviours or build their self-awareness or develop their self-awareness. There was a comment there about what do you do when someone's had a negative experience in the past and therefore they're afraid of having the same outcome. I think you have to build very, very slowly and actually maybe help them articulate what that fear is, so that they can move forward. And obviously, yes, you're all teaching very different, if you're teaching 3-year-olds, that's completely different to teaching teenagers or teaching adults. So they're obviously, with these different ideas, you're going to be doing different things. Exactly. So someone's put there with children, playing, singing, chanting, colour pictures and so on. Drama is great, great for the classroom, and it really helps to build self-awareness, and also it's good fun. You know, it can lighten up the, if you can use drama that involves everyone, it just lightens up the environment that you're working in. It allows people to try things out and make mistakes and so on. Role play, yes, role play is good, but I think it's always useful, always good. I think that we can go higher than role play in terms of self-awareness, because we can think about where we can, if we're able to give feedback to learners in the moment, and experiential learning is very much learning in the moment, you'll get a higher impact for the learner than role play, because role play is still an artificial situation. So what we need is to have more of feeling. So if you're talking about comfort zone, you need to put students in a place where they actually do feel out of their comfort zone, and then you can reflect on that and reflect on how you can address, you know, if that was really uncomfortable, how you would address that, how you could look for other ways to go outside of your comfort zone in future, or so on. So I think I've come to the end, but I want to just have a little bit of time for any questions that people might have, or any other comments that you might have. This was really to give you some insight into where confidence comes from, how we can build it, how we can encourage it more for ourselves, and then hopefully pass some of that on to our students. And self-awareness is very simple. It's very simply about understanding yourself. You can't expect anyone to change their behavior unless they have a degree of self-awareness about that behavior, and that's why experiential learning is so powerful for helping people to increase their self-awareness. Otherwise, it just becomes a series of exercises, and you can get a lot more from that. So thank you very much. I think you will be getting the slides, and I'm very happy to correspond with you if you have any questions or want any more ideas for things that you could maybe do in the classroom. I've got my email up there as well. Well, thank you for all the thanks. I'm sorry that you couldn't see me.